Mule deer hunting in Colorado. That's right, folks, I'm back in Colorado for my first ever mule deer hunt. Tomorrow the season begins, and when I scouted a month ago, I was over on that mountain over there, and I got here a day early so that I could do a little more boots on the ground on a different area. And I'm heading in about 1.5 miles to a spot that I liked, thought looked good on the map, and we will see if any good sign is there. Praise the Lord Jesus, let's do this, all glory to God. Okay, I've hiked about 1.5 miles to a waypoint that I set. This area is a little open area that I could see in the aerial photo. And I could tell the vegetation looked darker here, greener, than the other areas that had openings. So I thought, there might be water here, and I was right. I'm standing in a big, huge elk bed, and you can just see down in there, there's water down in there. And when I came to this spot, I actually walked right around here, and I came out right by that tree trunk there, and there's a pool right there. It's enough that something could walk up and drink. And there's beds all in here. There's a bed here. There's a bed over there. I just dropped my water bottle. And that tree right there, I was gonna actually set up at the base of that tree and sit on that log, that blown down log next to it. Anything that comes through here, either catch a drink or planting the bed down. I mean, obviously it could be elk, but it's cool right here because of the water. And tomorrow's supposed to be a hot day. So, something could plant the bed here. See, I'm standing in the shade too. And right now it's about getting close to midday, right at noon. So this is a nice cool spot with water. And like I said, tomorrow's supposed to be a hot day, 80. So I think it's a spot worth coming to in the morning. It's going to be an exerting hike to get here, but it may be worth it. There's beds all over in here. There's beds right in here. So, and I could see out through this open, might be able to see something coming. It is a slight drawback that it could be a predominantly elk spot, but I'm sure there's going to be mule deer in the area too. It's just, a matter of what comes by. And this is all browsed on here. This is all browsed on. I imagine this is elk, but I did see some elk tracks back there, so. But anyway, I might at least see some wildlife, which is fun. I'm just walking over to this spot to see if I can sit on that blowdown. Here's the tree I just pointed out. And from here, I got more water on the ground right 5 feet away, and there's a bunch of elk scat in that one bed right there, right on the other side of that log. Or it could be moose, I don't know. Anyhow, so I definitely could encounter some elk here, but there's a nice view around. I'll be able to see things moving. I'm not sure if I'll try this as my first morning spot or not. I'm going to wait and see what else I see today and then make a determination tonight. I'm about 40 yards from that spot I was just at, and I found my first bit of mule deer scat right here. It's old, but that's the first bit of mule deer scat I've seen on this whole entire mountain. Not much mule deer sign here, but I know there's some around. It's just going to be a tough hunt, I think. Let's see. Okay, I've been walking parallel to this kind of wetland area on top of this. It's kind of the top of a draw on the top of a mountain, and so been walking the edge of it here. This slopes off down into it. Here's my first mule deer track right here, and after I turned the camera off, I did see another pile of mule deer scat. So there are some here. Some of them seem to be moving parallel to the edge of that. So like where my tree that I picked out, this trail, they'll be like 10 yards on the back side of it. So it could be tough to pull off if they're that close. But it's going to be hard to hear them too, because it's quiet walking. There's no like leaves on the ground. It's just like pine needles and vegetation. But we're gonna try. Okay, this is the northern tip of that marshy area that runs down, like probably goes 120 yards or so down to the other spot. And I just found this setup right here. So I would sit on this log right here. I have a rope bow holder. I could hang my bow on that tree and just sit here, and I'd be very concealed, but I can see through these pines. I can see animals moving out through that grassy stuff. The grass is pretty high, so I'll only see the tops of them, but then I can slowly and quietly stand up, pick up my bow, and just get ready for a shot through one of these openings. Also have an opening back into the woods right here. Alright, so that's the log I was just at that I'm going to sit on. And a few feet away there's mule deer scat right here. And elk scat right in here. So both mule deer and elk come through here. They could come right through here. I mean, it's a little too close for comfort, but there's a deer or an animal trail right through here. So, I mean, it's the best I can do. You can't get a spot that's going to be the perfect setback distance from every possible angle, but we'll see. Found another elk bedding area. So there's a massive pile of elk scat. I'm standing in a bed. There's a bed there, beds over there, beds over there, bed back there. So one of the reasons I actually am doing this mule deer hunt is to get the lay of the land for elk, because me and a buddy have been trying to draw an elk tag for this unit. We were unsuccessful this year, but good to know for in the future. I might have bumped some elk out of their beds. Right there's those elk beds, and there's really fresh tracks. The dirt is still freshly pushed up here. See, it's moist all down in there, and that's still pushed up. I probably just bumped them right out of their beds right here. Big elk. First deer track. First one. This is a spot I'm scouting for Sunday morning. I want to try to sit for an hour or two before going to church. So this is a spot that's a little easier to get to. But nice to see a fresh track. So the guy in that truck right there is an old guy that I talked to hiking down out of the mountain. He was with his dog. He's kind of trying to get in shape for elk hunting. And I asked him, you know, any if he had any insight or advice for deer hunting. And we talked a little bit, and then I got out ahead of him, came down the mountain, and then I did some scouting around closer to the bottom of the mountain. So by the time I got out to the car, he was kind of coming out too from a different angle. And he said, I thought of this other spot. You need to be able to cross a stream, but nobody really does it. And there used to be a lot of deer up in there. So we talked about it. He's like, well, just follow me. So he's actually taking me there right now. And I was thinking of bringing hip waders, but I did not. So I'm just gonna go see what it looks like. And maybe I can go into town and buy some. I don't know if anyone's carrying them this time of year in the fall. Usually they stock them in the spring when everyone's going out trout fishing. But anyhow, that is what's going on. We're gonna go see this spot, see if I can find a way to cross the stream to Mule Deer Haven. I think I'm gonna be passing on this spot. Not only is the river a little too deep right now because of all the rain, but I'd have to scale that to get up to the public land. And I think I would potentially break a bone or an ankle or maybe more. I'm ready for breakfast. One of the reasons I chose this spot is because there's a big boulder right across this open area, and it's basically going to funnel the animals right through within bow range. They have to come through here. I mean, if they're traveling through this area, that boulder is going to push them within bow range of me. Aside from that moose encounter, I haven't really seen anything else, except for a little ferret-looking thing at my feet. That's cool. And a hummingbird buzzing my head. I talked to a hunter on the way in, and we saw a moose right after we talked. He has an elk tag, and he's going in about 5 miles. He said he'd seen good mule deer sign back where he was going, but I'm not going 5 miles for a mule deer. But I think I'm gonna move and go in about another mile deeper and just see what I see. Probably set up and stay there the rest of the day. Right now it's 9 o'clock. I might hang out here till 10. And then slowly work my way back in deeper another mile. See if I see anything, any good sign. Right, I just found an area that has a couple old buck rubs from probably last year. Also, some of the freshest deer scat I found. after I left the last spot, I talked to a elk hunter when I was out on the hiking trail, same guy I saw this morning. We actually saw a moose together when we met up. I didn't get video footage of it because my camera was packed away, but it was probably the same moose that I saw when I was set up this morning, a couple 100 yards from, it was probably a quarter mile from where we saw it originally. I just was hiking up the hiking trail, and this area looked decent, so I stepped into the woods and started looking around, which is when I found the sign. I'm on the downwind side of this aspen strip because they seem to be browsing on the aspen saplings. So I'm just going to spend the rest of the day here. It's only about 1 o'clock, so it's going to be a long afternoon. See what the good Lord has in mind for me. I cleared out all the way around this whole side of the tree so that I can pivot depending on which way the animals are moving. Hopefully I'll spot them with enough time to be able to maneuver into position. That's frustrating. Been sitting here in the dark and bit by mosquitoes for over an hour. And those guys just walk through the meadow I'm hunting along. 13 minutes after shooting light starts. Oh well. I'm not hunting very long this morning because I'm going to get to Mass. That's hunting, I guess. Alright, just got out of Mass a little bit ago, and I found this obscure place of getting into the public land. I just had to hike up a rock climb up a cliff, basically, right down there to the road. I actually had to park down the road. I'm traveling really light. All I have is my bow, some water, my rangefinder, and the video camera. That's pretty much it. I'm going to explore, see if this is worth putting any time into. I figured this spot being difficult to get to in this way would reduce the amount of hunting pressure. Plus, it's a mountain strip that goes back a mile, and in the valleys on either side of it, there's private land. So you can't access it any other way than what I just scaled. And I don't think too many people are going to be doing that. I also don't think there'll be elk hunters going back in there because this is not a very high mountain. And this time of year, most of the elk hunters are focusing up higher. So I'm hopeful that this will put me on some mule deer. The mule deer sign has been not as prevalent as I would like so far. So hopefully this is going to improve things. I only got like 1 or 2 more days. It is going to thunderstorm this afternoon, so my plan right now is to get in there, scout this out, and get out before the thunderstorms hit, and then maybe come back tomorrow if something looks good. Just found my first bit of mule deer scat, and I've got good news and bad news. The good news is there might be an easier and safer way to get in and out here. The bad news is I was just looking at the map, and it didn't show this before, but it now shows there's a trail over that way pretty far, but it's another way to get up onto this ridge. So that means plenty of people could be up here. And I'm going to try to find that trail and take that out, because that looks safer than climbing the rock cliff that I just came in. Just found my first mule deer bed about 5 yards away from that pile of scat. This is the first mule deer bed I have found on this whole trip so far. And of course course, there's mule deer scat along the edge, and there's another mule deer bed right here. It's like maybe even another one right over here. They look small though, look like probably doe and fawns right here. With that shade, you're not going to probably be able to see it on video. There's another depression right here, or compression from the body of a deer. It's right here. Bad news. Just heard rumbles of thunder. Look back over my shoulder, and there is a thunderstorm coming over that mountain right there. I'm gonna try to make it up to that hiking trail and start making my way out of here, trying to beat the thunderstorm. But I do not think I'm gonna make it. This is good mule deer habitat, in my opinion, and I'll consider sitting here. I only got 2 days left, so we'll see if it happens or not. But here at least I can see if there's something out moving in the distance. I could either make a note of that for the next hunt, try to get in closer to where they're moving, or even put a stalk on them. I mean, being it's fairly wide open and there's lots of cactus in here, I don't think I would do a crawl through the weeds to try to get closer, at least not very far. Like if I only had to crawl like 20 yards, I might give it a try, but I will keep this spot in mind. Well, I just talked to a couple hikers and seeing if they had seen any deer. I thought about getting on this trail and going farther and deeper, but there's another storm cloud coming right over there, blowing kind of this way, so I better not chance it. What I wanted to do though is walk up this trail, because on the side that I was walking on is clearly an area that they would come out and feed. On the back side of this ridge, it's all pine, like this here, judging by the aerial photo. It's all pine over there, so they're bedding down over there. I'm sure of it during the day, because that's the shady side of the hill as well, the western side. At least it's shady throughout most of the day, but then even when the sun comes over, it's the pines are so thick, it's still going to provide shade. But then they'll most likely be crossing up over out of there and feeding down into here. It's starting to drizzle. But anyhow, they really could just come out anywhere. So perhaps if I do try the spot, I will at least see something. Looks like maybe there's a trail right there. Maybe I'll at least see something, even if it's too far to shoot, which would be a step in the right direction, seeing as I have not even seen a mule deer while hunting yet. And it's just been a little bleak. Not a lot of deer sign. There are deer around, but they're just not plentiful in this general area. So this is the hiking trail, and I pulled my phone out to just look at it, and it no longer shows this on the map like it never did before. It is so weird that it showed this trail on the map while I was over there. It was almost like God was saying, look dude, there's a storm coming and you need to hurry up and get out of here, and this is probably your best and smoothest way over here, so get to it. And this is not a very heavily used hiking trail. I mean, it's definitely used, but some of the other ones that I've been on are way more established and, well, I shouldn't say established, but wider. Like this is narrow and kind of, the weeds are hanging over the trail. Some of the trails are so beat, they're like twice as wide as this because they get so much foot traffic. So this trail I'm sure it gets used a fair amount, but not as much as some of the others that I've been on. So that's just a guess. I did see 2 hikers. It is Sunday, so people could be out. But I'll be happy to get out here, hopefully before that thunderstorm reaches me. I can definitely see why this may be a little bit less traveled than some of the other trails. Aside from it being shorter than some of their bigger trails, very loose gravel and a fairly steep downhill trail, which could really result in twisting your knee or an ankle. It's not good footing. There are over 40 cars in this parking lot. And it's raining. Tried to wait till the last possible minute to come out, hoping that I would evade thunderstorms. As soon as I got up to this spot, one came over the mountain and started rumbling. Looks like I'm gonna get wet. But the reason I'm here is I want to glass over on the next hillside. And just see if I can see any movement for tomorrow night, maybe. Set up, I wanted to be over there tonight, but it takes a lot longer to get up over to that peak than to where I'm at here. It's starting to drizzle here, but I can see it. It's pouring rain back over there where it's coming from. So I'm putting everything up under the tree to try to stay as dry as possible. I chose this tree because it slants. It will give me the best coverage from rain. Tail end of the storm. Here comes the sun back out. I did the best I could to stay dry, but I'm wet, so is this stuff. Beautiful rainbow. Folks, just came down off that mountain. I could glass for a mile in every direction, and I did not see a single animal. So I may just need to hike it in. There's a guy who said he was back in 5 miles. He saw a couple mule deer back in there, higher elevation. I'm gonna have to go home and study the maps and try to come up with something for tomorrow, because I have not seen a single mule deer. I mean, I'm seeing old scat, but nothing like within the last, like, I don't know, week or two.
over and saw him, I knew I didn't have time to mess with the camera. So I squatted down like this and covered my face. And the deer came straight through here. She was standing right here. 8 yards at the most. Maybe even 6 yards. And we just looked at each other right here. And the wind's blowing straight at her. She perked right up. And then she eventually spooked and ran down about 45 yards. And I quick stood up and ripped the camera off the camera arm. Because it'd be easier to freehand it. And there was 2 other ones. I think it was a doe and 2 fawns. And the other 2 ran back. That's a victory. That feels so good. I've been working so hard. Finally seeing a deer. Praise the Lord. Thank you, God. That feels so much better. That makes it worth getting up at 3 in the morning and hiking 2.5 hours up a mountain. I want to talk a little bit. I want to just show you why I picked this spot a little bit more, just in case you're wondering. So using the aerial photo, I was able to tell that this area had trees, hardwood trees. In this case, aspen. It's mostly what you see out here is aspen or pine in the forest. And it seems clear that the elk and mule deer like to feed on the aspen saplings. So for instance, this is where I was standing this morning. See if you can see it behind me. This is a bed right here. And the aspen saplings all around it right here have all been browsed. All the tops have all been eaten off, all through here. So, and that's what the mule deer, they walked right up to me this morning, and then stopped and started nibbling right here. And I think there's a good chance they were coming to bed down. Whereas I thought this was an elk bed, that it could be that the mule deer use it so often, it's just become spread out. Or both mule deer and elk use the same bed. Who knows? Now I pointed out this rock structure over here. I could see that in the aerial photo. So when you put it all together, I knew that even though this has been burned, since this has the aspen in it, even though they're dead now, I figured there'd be new aspen growing, which would be a food source. Those are some of the factors that went into this decision. I'm about 75 to 80 yards from that rock structure, and I figured anything coming through here would have to come on this side of that rock structure and make it more of a bow range type of a shot. So those are some of the factors that went into me deciding on this spot. And I do think that those doe were coming to bed down right at first light. They were going to feed in here and then bed down right in here. So I think more than likely any decent bucks are already bedded down. It's a lot of work just to see a couple doe, but I was excited to see them. Now tomorrow's my last day, and I'm going to keep praying about where to go. That's another key detail that went into me deciding to come here. I had a few options, and when I prayed about it, I kept coming back to this option. Tomorrow, I may go to the pinch point that I found during the scout trip. It's a much lower elevation. There was much less deer sign. But I'm just kind of feeling like, as I've prayed about where to go, I kind of just feel like it's the type of spot a buck could come through. Maybe nothing will, but I just feel like maybe that's a spot to try. I don't necessarily feel like I'm going to get anything tonight. I mean, I could sit here all day, but it's a very long way out, and I'm staying in a hostel, and most people go to bed like 9 o'clock, so I just don't want to be getting back real late. And if it's 2.5 hours to walk out, and I start walking out at 8 o'clock when hunting is over, it's just going to put things too late. One thing I'll tell you too, when you're out here working hard and it's not going well, it's difficult, you do a lot of soul searching. And as I've been on this trip, I just realized, like, part of the reason why I'm doing this is, one, to get some intel for maybe a future elk hunt here, but another reason is partly to make videos. And over the last 2 years, like, YouTube has just killed my channel, like, quite literally. I've done everything I can to make my videos, search engine optimized, all the stuff they recommend you do, thumbnails, wording, and it literally, my channel's dead. It no longer grows. As soon as, like, it's been at 100,000 subscribers for like 2 years now or something like that. And you can look at the analytics all in times past. Beginning in August, my subscriber rate dramatically begins to increase, and it no longer does that. It has stayed the same all year. Like, it says I've gained about 160 subscribers in the last month, and it said that for every month this year. In the past, that's way different. Like, before 2020, in the slow months out of the year, I would gain about 700 subscribers a month. In the hunting season, starting like late August all the way through to the end of the year, I'd gain like 2,500 subscribers a month. Now it's been at 160 all year, and it hasn't changed at all. And I get emails all the time from people saying, like, hey, I thought you deleted your or have you deleted your YouTube channel? I can't find it, and for some reason it's no longer in my subscribe list. And some people tell me that's called shadow banning, that they do that to channels. I have a friend named Jason who claims that's not a real thing and whatever. But being out here on this hunt, I used to do these types of things to make more content, but it's like, all this time and effort away from my family, it makes it hard on them. Plus, I want to be a good dad. I want to be there. And I feel like I'm maybe coming up on a change. Maybe it's time to back away from trying to make videos, well, at least for YouTube. Maybe it's time to look for a different platform, like maybe make a Roku channel or an Amazon Fire channel. I've thought about that for probably the last 7 years. I just don't have the time to put into make it a reality. But definitely YouTube's, at least for my content, it's on the way out. Like, the only videos that do good anymore are ones that show up in Google search results that are videos I posted 5 years ago. So just as I think about forecasts, like, I don't even care if I get a deer on this hunt, like, at all. Like, I've never really had a strong interest in mule deer hunting. I really just did this to get some experience for if we try to draw an elk tag for this unit, my friend Andrew and I. But man, the mule deer hunting has definitely been very difficult. In some of the other units I've been in Colorado, there's been mule deer all over the place. Not the case for here. Anyhow, I do have a religious message for you, if you're still watching. It doesn't matter how good of a hunter you are or how good of anything is. It really depends on what God wants for you. The best thing for all of us is to have a relationship with God. Nothing else will satisfy us in our heart of hearts, because we're not made to be satisfied by anything other than God. And if things don't go your way, it's because God may be trying to help you. Like you cause this soul searching, like I've talked about. And, my soul searching has been like, I want to be there for my family, my kids. And it's hard on them. They're young. I don't need to be out here doing this. I want to be there for them. So, maybe it's time I stop scheduling these long distance hunts. And if I would have, come out here and gotten a deer right away, I wouldn't have thought about all that. I wouldn't, thought about, should I even continue with the YouTube channel? I mean, I enjoy making videos, and I'll probably always make videos and post them. But maybe it's time to scale back. Maybe it's time to, just like I said, look for other platforms. So when you're out there hunting this year, if things aren't going your way, maybe it's God's giving you an opportunity to look deep within on whatever area of your life, whatever He wants you to focus on. And in that way, it's a blessing. I'm thinking about the gospel reading at Mass yesterday. I went to Mass out here because that's my priority. In fact, let me read you the gospel from yesterday. And this led to some of my reflections in the afternoon when I was out hunting. Jesus began to show this, by the way, this is from the Gospel of Matthew. Jesus began to show His disciples that He must go to Jerusalem and suffer greatly from the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised. Then Peter took Jesus aside and began to rebuke him. God forbid, Lord. No such thing shall ever happen to you. He turned and said to Peter, Get behind me, Satan. You are an obstacle to me. You are thinking not as God does, but as human beings do. Then Jesus said to His disciples, Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. Whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. What profit would there be for one to gain the whole world and forfeit his life? Or what can one give in exchange for his life? For the Son of Man will come with His angels in His Father's glory, and then He will repay all according to his conduct. That is the gospel of the Lord, my friends. So when it comes to hunting, many of us have an interest in it and are driven to do it. But when you get there, be prepared for the cross. Through the cross that God asks us to carry, He purges us, He purifies us, He makes us holy. And so you might go into the hunting year thinking about the big buck you want to get. But when you get there, maybe you'll be met with frustration, difficulty. Things won't be working out. It's not because God doesn't want to bless you. It's because God is blessing you. He's blessing you by helping you look deeper at what's more important, what really matters. Because He wants you to be the best person you can be. He wants you to grow in holiness. Every one of us. Now, I just wrote a book called Become a Better Archer and Use It to Avoid Sinning. And I want to put a plug for it here, not for the book's sake, but for people who want to find Jesus' sake. I have many people who follow my channel who are not Catholic. I am about as hardcore of a Catholic as it gets. In fact, I've been evangelizing for the past 23 years in a hardcore way. And I don't do it real hard on this channel, but if you meet me in the streets, watch out. I actually was evangelizing somebody at the hostel where I'm staying a couple nights ago, and this individual said to me, "You are the first devout Catholic I have ever met in my entire life. In one sense, I was honored to hear such a remark, but in another sense, saddened. So if you're Catholic out there, step it up. Step it up so that people begin to say, everywhere I turn, I meet a devout Catholic who knows their faith and can articulate it. If you're not Catholic, anyway, getting back to that, the book I just wrote, it teaches you archery, but then it also shows you why the Catholic Church is the right church. And if that is a troublesome statement for some of you who love Jesus, who are Christian, read the book. And I also will say that I think it has the potential of leading thousands of people to Jesus and the Catholic faith, because the Catholic faith is the fullness, carries the fullness of truth that God has revealed. All other Christian denominations have stepped away from that. And if you don't agree with that, or you don't believe that, or you never heard that before, it's definitely a good book to read, because not only do I show the foundations of the Catholic faith and where it comes from scripturally, but I also give an overview of church history, which shows where some of the differences and discrepancies have come. So if you're a Christian and you want Jesus and you want to follow him, this is something you should challenge yourself to read. So I've got one day left of hunting, and again, I don't care if I get a deer. I'm gonna hike my rear end off tonight, go to a spot, going into it thinking I might not even see deer, and I might not even get a deer, and I don't care if I get a deer. And you might ask, well, then why would you do that? It's because I'm here for that. Since I'm here, I'm going to do the best I can at it. Whether I believe I'm going to get a deer or not, I'm going to do the best I can. My family has even sacrificed so that I can be here. So I'm going to do the best I can. However, I don't necessarily feel like I'm getting anything tonight, but I'm going to give it my best effort. That's another thing we should keep in mind in life. Regardless of what the outcome might be, give it your best effort. Just give it your best effort. And in life, the most important thing is to focus on doing God's will. So what is God's will for your life? What is God's will for your hunting season? These are some important things to think about. And I hope you'll stay tuned. I mean, I'm going to make some video. I have plans to make videos this year, but I don't know if I'm going to continue very much beyond that, or at least at the volume that I have. I have over 700 videos on my channel. If you want to see me stay on YouTube, then you're going to have to ask God to do something to make it seem like it's a worthwhile endeavor. It's worth my effort and time and money, because it takes a lot of effort to make videos, and I've done it for 13 years. And if YouTube was a friendlier platform to my type of content, then it wouldn't even be a question. But since they're just squeezing down, they keep taking me off of, I think I started to say this before, they take me off of people's subscriber list, and then when they search for my channel, it doesn't show up in search results. And there are social media platforms that do that. And it's very possible YouTube's doing it to me. I'm going to just start easing my way out, just slowly hunting my way out, scout around as I go, and head back to the car and take a nap, because I'm operating on like 3 hours of sleep. But hey, it was worth it to get to see 3 does this morning. And if you're still watching this video, thank you. I had to call an audible for tonight. The spot that I found yesterday that was wide open, the wind was blowing straight into where they would be bedding coming out of. So I decided to just go in blind to this other spot. So what I have here is a a little bit of a clearing in the middle of the forest. There's some young aspen right in here, and a little bit on that hillside there. I'm toward the foot of the mountain, so I was hoping they would come down and feed at night, because this is the only opening like this on this whole mountain. The problem is, the wind is not doing what they predicted. It's blowing straight up the hill. I've got about maybe 4 hours worth of shooting light left. So although there is time to move, by the time I would get to another location and set up, I would just be dripping with sweat, stinky, and who knows if the wind would work there either. So I'm just going to sit it out. Good chance I will not see anything, but I was listening to the Bible in the Year podcast with Father Mike Schmitz on the way here, and he's reading from the prophet Jeremiah. I don't remember what chapter and verse, but the message was basically like, everything is possible for God. So I'm going to roll with that for tonight. If it's meant to be that I get a deer tonight, it's all because of God and His glory, because right now the wind is doing the worst it could for a large part of where the deer would come from. It is possible for them to come around the hillside and not wind me before getting here. So for that reason, I'll stick it out because of God and the possibility of something working in my favor. A bow holder. After I recorded that last segment, which was probably 2 hours ago, I checked my clock, and it's 5 hours from when I got here till shooting hours end. But one of the things I've been doing periodically, maybe once an hour, is taking these ripe, I don't know if it's juniper or what, and just rubbing them on my clothes. And just using it as a little bit of natural cover scent. Honestly, I do not think I will see anything at all today because the wind has blown in every single direction since I've been here. And so, my chances of being winded already are like 99.8%. It will take a miracle for me to even see something tonight. You might be able to hear cars in the background at this spot. I'm roughly 500 yards from a major road. You know the old saying, hunt smarter, not harder? Well, that's one of the reasons I would say I chose to come to this spot after doing about 5 miles this morning. Up a pretty steep mountain, I decided to save a little energy this afternoon because I have thought that more than likely if I did get anything, it would be tomorrow morning. I'm very prepared to not get anything, but I still wanted to save a little energy for tomorrow. Back to the car. 5 hours, and boy, did it get windy. And it kind of came to me as I just sat in silence. Maybe it was around 6 o'clock, 6:30, that the lesson is staying till the end. It's like when I go on a trip like this, I just want to hurry up and get home because I want to be there to help my wife. I want to be there for my kids. And so it just makes it tough because I have to let go of that
and just, I've booked this hunt. I always try my best for my family, and I need to be able to let go sometimes and just be here. I mean, being here is good for me in a sense because it gives me time to pray and reflect. In a sense, it really is kind of like a retreat for me, and that helps me continue to grow spiritually and as a person. So the lesson in this whole hunt is to stay till it's over. And also it's me working on myself, letting go of certain anxieties, certain concerns that I can just give them to the Lord. And when I'm home, I always do the best I can. I'm away for 4 or 5 days in this situation. I need to let go. I need to be able to just do that and not be so worried about it. That's the lesson for Sean McVeigh on this hunt. I still go into every hunt with hope and positive attitude. So even though I may not even get a deer at all, but I'm done babbling. I'm driving back and getting ready for bed so I can get up tomorrow and hike 1.6 miles to my spot to see what happens. Stay tuned.
I'm so tired that I'm falling asleep standing up. I think I might try to do a little still hunting. This grassy area goes several hundred yards that way. There's a waypoint that I put on my map, like maybe even last night, that I want to check out. Being that it's so grassy, I should be able to walk quietly. Maybe even spot something moving. And that'll help me stay awake at the same time. Looks like this is mostly pine and teaberry. And I don't really think that draws the mule deer. But where I'm going to, about 300 yards that way, I think there's a little patch of aspen. So let's go check that out. Well, these aspen are all mature, and there's no young saplings growing under them or near them. I might just sit up here for a little while anyway, since I've walked all the way here. So just set up right there. I just found my first pile of fresh mule deer scat between this trip and the scout. Still green and glistening. It's within a few days. First pile of fresh scat. So I had the right idea this morning. It just hasn't come together, I'm gonna still hunt my way out, but I don't expect anything to come together. But all things are possible with God. More fresh scat. When you're in the Rocky Mountains, you can expect your trail to turn into rock.
All right, I am hiking down pretty steep mountainside here, just trying out to go out a different way than I came in, and it did not seem this steep with the topo lines on the map, but it is steep. So I want to bring this video to a close. I want to share a few things with you as I close. Some of the things that I learned from this hunt. I used to always say I don't want to go home empty-handed, and I was willing to shoot just something
so that I'd have something. And then with this hunt, I realized I never go home empty-handed. I've always learned so much. I've learned about myself. I've learned about prayer. The reason I came on this or even applied for the mule deer tag was to get familiar with this unit, since Andrew and I are trying to draw an elk tag for this unit. One of the things I learned regarding mule deer is, I had this idea in my head of what the mule deer hunting would be like based on what I experienced in one of the over-the-counter draw units, or not draw units, but elk units that I hunted once. There were mule deer all over the place. You couldn't hardly walk on the ground without stepping on mule deer scat. And the mule deer were all really low in the valleys while the elk were up on the mountains. So I kind of just went into this assuming it was going to be like that here. And it was not at all like that. The mule deer sign was nothing like at the other spot. And right now, they're high on the mountains, higher elevations. So there was a lot of details there that I learned about mule deer. I'm not super interested in mule deer. Like I said, I just did this to get familiar with this unit a little bit so that when we do elk hunt, I have a little better lay of the land. One of the things I'm relieved about is not having to try to lug a deer out. It's hard enough just getting out. If I had to make like 2 trips to get all the deer meat and stuff out, that's just a lot. And I'm not that motivated to keep trying. Like, I could technically hunt tonight, but I don't feel like it. I'd rather go home and get ready for whitetail season. So going into this hunt, I was just praying the day of the scout. I wasn't praying necessarily about if I was going to get a deer or anything like that. But while I was praying, I had this idea clearly pop into my head that you're going to get your deer on Tuesday. And today's Tuesday. And although I was in a decent area, it didn't come together. And I'm fine with that. If I'm praying about something in everyday life and I have a similar thing happen, I can relate back to this and be like, you know what? I thought I might get a deer on Tuesday, and I did not. So I can be more ready to dismiss that kind of an idea. But here is the final thing that I thought about this morning as I've been hiking out. I think, I've been making videos for YouTube for a long time, and my hunting videos don't do good anymore. I've tried to make them, more exciting. I've tried different things. I've tried music. And the reality is, especially on this platform, it's just not a good platform for me. Things don't do well. And I also like to talk, as you can tell. And a lot of people who are watching YouTube videos don't like talking. So I had this idea this morning. I'm thinking of starting a podcast called Faith in the Outdoors, or, that's the theme, Faith in the Outdoors. Every episode has to have an element of faith, and every episode has to have an element of the outdoors. That's the hallmark of the podcast if I start it. So comment below if you like the idea. If you'd like to have me do a podcast with Faith in the Outdoors. And if you'd like to be somebody on the podcast, send me an email and tell me what topic you would like to talk about, faith related and outdoor related. And I love all of my Christian brothers and sisters, but just know that I am not one of those people who accepts the phrase, we will have to agree to disagree. I don't live that way. If I disagree with a belief of yours, I just disagree. I don't agree with you. I just disagree with you. And so that's something about me that you just need to know. I really think everybody should be Catholic. So that's where I'm coming from. If you want me to do this kind of a podcast, if you'd like to be on the podcast, comment below. But if you want to be on it, you got to email me so that we can be in touch. Maybe that's just a better outlet for me as someone who likes to chit chat and talk. Whereas, a lot of YouTube videos are more like short, action related, over. All right, just finishing up the editing. I wanted to give you an update on this whole thing. So I am going to do the podcast.
And I'm going to start the podcast with some local people near where I live, in particular, some people from my church. And then eventually I'm going to transition into getting more people like viewers from anywhere. So some of you who comment on all my videos and would love to be on the podcast, send me an email. You'll see how it goes as, how the podcast develops. But so I'd say the first like 6 episodes or so, I'll definitely try to get people local. So we'll be sitting in this room filming the podcast more than likely. And then as time goes on, maybe I'll do some Skype conversations with people from wherever. So especially thinking of Dennis from Saskatchewan, who's been commenting on my videos forever. Perhaps maybe you'll be on one of the episodes. We'll see. Until next time, take care and God bless.